Alexa, stop.
Yo, yo.
Hey, everyone. I'll just give a couple minutes for anyone who wants to join.
What's up, David?
Yeah, man.
How are you guys doing in JavaScript?
Good. I'm enjoying it. It's kind of just starting to sink my teeth into it, but having a lot of fun with it.
Cool.
You're
Doing all right.
recording?
I'm also recording this, guys. Chris will probably post it later for anyone else who wants to see who can't make it. We'll give it a couple more minutes, and hopefully, people will join.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning. Yeah. So, anyone want to say what they did this weekend?
Bike ride. Lots of bike rides.
Nice.
That's it.
Is that a cat or a shadow on your shirt?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm growing a tail. Yeah. But it's a cat. He always jumps up and he always jumps up on my lap when I video conference. Yeah, his tail is always like showing. It looks weird. I'm actually a dragon.
All right, guys, I think this is good. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we'll get started. Cool. So I just got this website. I just Googled it, and this is just a demo one. So it was a resource that I found, but it'll be good for showing you how Debugger works. So if you go into inspect, right, we can start here with whatever code we have. Then we're going to go into our sources. I will say I've seen it before where this console is kind of all the way down. Sometimes you just got to drag it up to find that. So in here, this resource that I found, basically, there's an error. So let's say you have number 1 and number 2. It's meant to add the numbers, but if you see, it's just combining them instead of adding them. So there's a couple things that we can do. First of all, if you're in your program, you can write debugger in whatever function you're in that you think that there's the bug in. So that's one way to do it. Another one, if you're already inside your browser, you can do a couple things. So let's say we did this, and we know that our issue is going to be wherever is kind of adding them. So if you look at this code right here, we know that the issue is probably going to be around this line. So if you click on the line number, you'll actually get this red dot. I've seen it as a little blue triangle before, but that's adding a breakpoint. You can add a breakpoint to any line in your code, and that'll cause a breakpoint. So your debugger will stop at those points.
Matt, can I interrupt you, please?
Yeah, of course.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for going through all of this debugger. But maybe, at least for me, it'd be really helpful if we kind of took a step back and you kind of broke down debugger, and you're using it in the devs tools, but can you use it in VS Code or Atom?
Yeah, so
I don't see debugger here. Some kind of some foundation stuff first, because I'm already lost, to be honest.
VS Code or in wherever your code base is, you're gonna just add in. So when you open up dev tools and you go to sources, this is actually your source file. So you'll see the same files that you'll see in your dev code right here, right?
Oh, okay.
So then this literally just loads what your code is. So when we have main.js in our labs, you would see that here, and you could click on it, and then you'll have your full code base here.
Oh, cool.
Right?
I didn't know that.
Cool. Great. Yeah.
Okay, so then you can see your code base, And then
you'll be able to see the files that you have. After I do this quick version, we can open up a lab that someone's working on, and then maybe do it like a live debugger for one of their labs. This one is just an easy one that I picked so we can kind of move through it. So another thing you can do is you see these menus over here. You actually have this event listener. And you can go and you can make an event listener. So if you go to mouse, you could do it on click, right? So now the debugger is gonna trigger whenever you hear a click. So let's say I'm gonna change this to 5 and 3. I hit click, you see a pause, it's in the debugger, and it hits the first line where you hit. So the reason it hits this line is because we're hitting that function on click. We're hitting that function on click. First, it's checking if it's empty, so you can see if it is empty or not. But let's continue on because we know it's not empty. We filled it in.
well, where even is debugger? I don't even see it on your screen.
This is debugger. So I set over here. I put in an event listener. That's what I was saying before. You can literally put in an event listener, so you don't even have to write debugger anywhere. If you put it a breakpoint like that, you don't have to put debugger anywhere.
You're putting a breakpoint by literally just clicking there?
Just literally clicking on it. And it will literally put a breakpoint whenever that line of code is executed.
So by clicking sources here in Web Tools, you are in the debugger.
You're in the debugger, but you don't have any breakpoints naturally. So like, let's say I unclick the mouse click event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just in this regular. So let's change this to 2. Source code is not actually causing the debugger to hit, but you can put a debugger through source code. So let's say I wanted it where I wanted the debugger over here because this is where it's doing the addition. Now when I click it, you see how it hit and it highlights the line that it hits.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing as writing it in your code. The difference is, like, it's good to write it in your code sometimes if you're working with a large project, because then you'll see it in your code and you'll be able to take it out easily. If you add like a lot of breakpoints, you might forget which files they're in and then have to go back and do it. But if you're working on one file, it's really easy to do it this way. Someone had a question?
Yeah, so like when you choose that line of code and it gives you that red dot or whatever it is that it gives you, so that's a breakpoint, and a breakpoint is exactly like if we had a pry or a buy bug there. It's just where the code breaks so that you can get into it and start working from right there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So
and this thing on the right, this paused on breakpoint, like this whole thing is just natural to Web Tool. Like I'm trying to like replicate this, but you're honestly going a little bit fast. I'm just trying to like.
Okay, sorry.
Really,
I'm gonna put this site in the chat. How do I? How do I get to our meeting? You're in full screen, and I don't know how to lower the screen.
You might have to go to the top and hit more. Yeah, there you go.
All right, so if anyone wants to follow along, I would suggest opening that in incognito mode because naturally you have event listeners in your browser. So if you want to use that event listener that I put in, you gotta open it in incognito mode. All right? So if you're following along, you have your event listener option where you can do it on click. So if you went to mouse, click, it would do it on the click. You know, and that's kind of like how you set up your debugger for breakpoints. So you have a couple options to review. You can put it in your code itself. You can literally click on a line, and when that line gets executed, it'll cause a breakpoint. Or you can try and use an event listener like mouse, click, and then when you click on something, it'll trigger that breakpoint.
It'll trigger it where you clicked.
Well, it's so it'll trigger because you did a click. So I'll listen to your event. Like if you have an event listener in your program, in your code, that says click, it will trigger then. Does that make sense?
And when you say it, you mean debugger.
Yes.
And when you say like it, you can put it in your code. You're talking about like literally typing out debugger in your code.
Right. So let's say I'm looking at just my code base here, and I know it was this function, so I could literally. You can also write in here whatever you want. You could literally write debugger, and that'll also cause it to trigger. Right. So there's a couple ways that we learned: writing it in the code itself, clicking on a line of code in your source, or using event listener, right? So let's take this debugger out. And then we're gonna do it with the on-click one. So let's refresh this. So now let's do 2 and 4. So now I'm doing the click action. It hits my first function in the debugger, right? So if you look at this code right here, first on click, which is called when you're doing the update label, or not when you're doing, that's your event listener. Click is called on click, right? So when you call it, first it checks if you have an empty array. So if you continue down, so these buttons are also really cool. So this will just resume your code until the next breakpoint. Or this will resume, like, kind of get out. Sorry, this one will resume and get out of debugger. This will go until the next function call. This will literally step down line by line or step up line by line, right? So if we look, it's hitting, inputs are empty. So if we go down by one line, it's gonna then trigger inputs are empty function. And then you can see it's in the inputs are empty, right? So it checked that, it was false. So then we moved on to the next one. So now it's getting the numbers for 1 and 2. Let's just skip until the next function. All right, now we're in it. Okay, now we're in the update label. So because it was false that the inputs are empty, we're actually going to the part where it's going to add it. So it's calling update label. This is the.
And Matt, where are you seeing that it's false and all this stuff?
Where am I seeing what?
You said like it was false. Where are you seeing that?
Well, that's just from the code that because we know it's false because we entered something right here.
Well, you're just saying that you know it just based on your own memory, or are you saying like the code is actually interpreting that it's false?
No, the code actually is interpreting that it's false. We're literally
and
running.
Where do you see that?
Right now. So if you go, all right, let's start this over. So we. Why is it? 4, 5. So we're checking inputs are empty right now, right?
Right.
So it's going down. So you could check, first of all, you can check what inputs are empty is going to lead by putting it into, you can put it into your console and check it right there. So that's how you know what that is and what's that going to return.
When you put it in your console, it's like literally running that
it's
in
like,
the.
kind of like when you're in Rails C, like when you're in
right.
It's kind of like that. So so then if you want to step through it to the next line, you can see it here, and then you can look. Oh, sorry. So if now you look, we're in this line, we're in this function, so we can check what get number is. Right, it's a function, and then if we actually call it, it's going to tell us what it is. And then that's how you can check it, right? You guys got
I think
that?
it may also even be showing up there in the local if you scroll up.
It should,
I think.
but right now there's a
I'm
lot.
just playing around with it.
Right now there's a lot. I'll get into it when we're like kind of deeper in and you can see it a little bit easier for the variables. But yes, you can. So, all right, let's continue. Everyone got that so far? So if you continue, then we get the numbers. So we're hitting that function. We're continuing. See, because in inputs are empty, it hits get number. That's why it's going back to this function where it's getting the number. Okay. So now you see how we continued through it, and then it hit actually return false. You see, Ryan? That's how you know also.
Gotcha. So this is essentially Debugger is just taking you step by step through what the code is running.
You have the option with these buttons to do step by step, or you can just execute the full function. So that's what these options are.
Mm-hmm.
You get that? So here we're going step by step. Now we're going into update label, right? So if I go to the next function call, it's going to hit the next, it's going to execute that. So now let's do it, click again. So now we already know inputs are empty is going to hit. So now we're going to go into update label. So now if we want to step through update label one at a time, we're going to go here. So it's going to get this. It's going to get the first line of update label, where it's getting the number. Second line, getting the number. Third line, getting the number. And then this is kind of what we want to be looking at right here, because we know that this is where our code is kind of breaking. Sorry, find that jump like that. That's where our code is breaking. So here we can do things like this.
How do you know that's where your code is breaking?
Well, we know that it's breaking because it makes sense to us. We're seeing that 4 and 5, and then the sum is 45.
Yeah.
We know that's not the outcome we want for this code.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing something. Like,
yeah, we know
Peter's
that.
telling you things that I don't see.
Okay, sorry. We know that it's breaking here because we're looking at what we're getting. We're looking at our results over here. And we know that 4 and 5 and the sum should not be 45. It should be 9, right? So if we look, we can check what each variable is. I think now this should work. So now that we're in here now local is working because we have our local variables. So you can see what our local variables are. There are 4, there are 5. And what do we guys notice right now about the local variables? Does anyone notice anything about them?
They're strings.
Right, they're strings. And we're not trying to add strings. And the way you can check that is you can do it. I don't know if you could do it in watch, but you could also do type of, and then pass in, add in 1, and it's going to tell you that's a string. So that's another way to confirm it, right? So does anyone know how to change a string into an integer?
With the parse int?
Yeah, perfect. So we know that the reason we're getting it's weird is because we figured out that there's strings, and that's what's kind of causing this weird concatenation. So now, like, you can go back in your code, you can change it. Another cool thing that you can do is you can actually, I think you should be, you were able to change the values over here, but maybe not. Right. If not, you can do like parse int to make sure. So you can test out your code right here in the console, and then I'll tell you what everything is. So we know now to fix that, sum is going to need to change and be, you're going to have to parse these in order to get them integers, and that'll make this program work specifically. So, I mean, that's pretty much it about debugger. The thing that I liked about it most is the step-by-step functions, executing a single function at a time, and these like mouse click events. I just thought it was a lot, more powerful than everything else we've done or used so
Such
far.
as like using debugger in VS Code or something, or?
No, this is the same. I'm saying like I found this a lot more powerful than Bybug.
Yeah, I see.
You know what I mean? Because you have all these options. It gives you things like the local variables and their values. You can test your code out here in the console, and you can change code in here. I don't think if you change it in here, it will change your, your actual file, but you can so let's see. I think in debugger you can't do it, but you can change it here and test it out. So parse int. So we're changing the code directly in here. Oops, sorry, I'm still on this debugger, so I'm gonna take that out. Take out this. So now,
Uh-oh.
it undid it. Oh, what's going on? Oh, that's why I switched that for some reason. So if you go in, that should work. Now let's reload. Let's try that one more time. Parse int. One and two. That's not working. I don't know. Oh. I guess you can't change it in here. I thought you could. But anyways, so I don't know what's going on with this part of it.
Out of curiosity, in sources, there's the get started and getstarted.js.
Get started is their HTML.
Oh, right. Never mind. You are in. It was showing the blue highlighting on get started, but then you are actually in the JS file. Never mind.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like a little weird. But either way, like you're not going to want to change your code in here anyways. You're going to want to change it on in your code base anyways. So I would just ignore changing it in here. But now that you know, you can set your debugger like this. Why is this? It's being really weird sometimes. Now you can add your debuggers in like this. You can add it in through your code, or you could do the event listeners. You can check you'll have your scope where you can see what the current variables are, and then you'll have your console where you can test out different codes, check out type of and variables. Osha, do you have a question?
Yeah. So if let's say we put a break on line, if we wanted to change inside of the code, we know line 31 is breaking, right? Because it's just causing the problem of the addition.
Right.
So if we wanted to check the code, would we put the break on line 30 or 31 in order to check and change line 31's code inside of our console?
Well, you're not actually changing the code in general.
I mean, so for example, I know that line 29 and line 30 are fine right now, right? But I know that line 31 is where stuff starts going wonky. And so do I put the break on line, if I want to start working inside the console, like, do I put the break on line 30 or 31?
So here, let's put one on each and then we'll see. So it's going to hit 31.
Mm-hmm.
31 does not actually run. So
Okay,
now
that's
because
better to know.
sum is undefined.
Yeah, because now, like, now you can take it into your console and do var sum equals parseint addended 1 plus parseint addended 2. Is that right?
Yeah. Or you could just set it in your console. You can rewrite sum as sum equals. Like, let's say you're over here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at this next breakpoint. We can rewrite sum is going to be equal to parse. Right? So we can rewrite that now, and then sum is now changed.
So just to clarify, kind of going off what OSHA says, putting that that dot or triangle or whatever on line 32 is almost the same as physically writing debugger between lines 31 and 32.
Exactly.
Totally.
So like we changed sum in our console. We changed sum in our console right there, so now it's actually executing with the right one. Got that? Cool. Does anyone have a lab they want to open up and we can kind of do a live debugger on their lab that they're working on?
Sure. If no one else wants to, I got one.
Yeah, cool. But,
Do you want me to? How do you want to? Do you want me to kind of screen share myself?
yeah.
So if I put
Okay.
debugger at the top of the DOM challenge, will it answer the entire DOM challenge for me and I can move on?
I believe so, because it'll be the first thing that's hit. But then you're gonna have to go. You'll then have to like click where you want it to actually break, because it's not gonna break in each function.
It won't write the code for me?
It won't write code for you now. I'll help you write your own code though.
Speaking of the DOM challenge, here it is. So I did everything except for this freaking heart, and I'm so close, but I was on it for like an hour and a half trying all this stuff, different things. Where am I? Hold on. Let me get situated. There's my heart. There's the heart function. So I would like to debug, I suppose, the heart function. Oh, you guys don't even see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. So now
It doesn't show the thing around it. You guys see my VS code, right?
you always see your VS code.
Okay, good. You do see my VS code, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I'm ready to rock.
Okay, so now going back, we have the option of putting the debugger in your heart function. So just like literally in the beginning of heart function on line between 58 and 59, you can put debugger there if you want.
And I've never actually tried, like I've tried it, but I never did it successfully. So how would this work? I just save and then I open up like the index and.
Yeah, so then you would open up index.html.
Okay. And then a show console or something like that?
So yeah, go to inspect. So you can right click on your mouse or however you do it.
That's not working. My shortcut isn't working for developer tools. Oh well. Nope.
Okay. Go into sources, I mean. So now look at your left part of your screen. You see how you're in index.html? See, this is literally
Do you think it's better, Matt, to have this as like side by side mode? I think I like how you did that. I've never done that. Do you know how to do that?
It's however
Right
you
here.
want.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So
Nice and big for everyone to see. Go ahead.
So you see, those are your files right there. So right now we're in
Right.
HTML. We want to go into challenge.javascript. And there's your code.
Mhm.
Right?
Cool.
So now that debugger that you have in your code is only going to hit once we're calling heart function. So let's say you call heart function. See how you hit your debugger?
All right. Nice. Okay. And then now that I'm here,
All right. So now what's your issue with this code specifically? So you can't use
let me
anything
take out.
screen. You can't use anything on your window. It pauses the whole window while you're in debugger, just so you know.
Can I want to take debugger out.
All right,
I'm
so
going to take debugger out. Is this changing my, this isn't changing my actual code, is it?
No.
Cool. And then I can like, how do I rerun?
Just refresh your
Stop
page.
it? Okay. All right.
Go back into the JavaScript. It's not changing your code.
It's still there.
Yeah, I said it won't
How do
change
I?
source code.
Okay, so I have to change my source code to take debugger out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this. I want to show you what I got first. That's probably better. All right, so cool. But here's where the problem comes in. I can only do 2 likes, no matter how fast I click. I can't figure that out.
What if you go back down to a number? What if you go back down to a number and like it again? So like go down to 10.
Also, if you pause on a number, are you still limited to just 2?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's actually something with your liking portion. You're in index. Yeah.
Probably in the else section of his heart function.
Yeah, I mean, I have like a bunch of ideas on how to fix it, like with, you know, looping. I mean, but I want to use debugger to help.
I had a really similar issue with my function when I gave it that ID. Like I gave you, did you give the li an ID of the number?
I did. Yeah.
I had that same issue when I set the ID to that, where there was like a limit, and I had to, instead of using an ID, I had to use I think it's like data-number or something like that, and set that value to the number instead. But let's go on and use debugger to solve this.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, yeah, but Bryce did point out something that I was going to say as well, which is line 68.
And what is that?
You set
every time.
Yep, likes I to equal to 1.
Yeah, I did that because I figured. So do you think if I like take this out, for example?
What that's doing is every single time you're calling your function, you're setting it back to 1. That's why it's never going higher than 2.
Yeah. But like, but then I can't, like, you know. Oh,
Yeah,
oh. Is that it?
Every time you were calling your function, you were setting it back down to 1.
No, see, and I this is where I played around and it works, but then it doesn't work. Cause see that how did 15 have 8 likes all of a sudden? Something funky's happening. See, it works if I do 1, But then if I do 2, it's like jumps. It's incrementing from the last value,
Look at
right?
your
This is incrementing from 8, from 9.
do me a favor
Right.
and look at your elements and look at your list items. Like up on the top there, go over to elements.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we put a debugger in your code?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to, because it's just me like trial and error, trial and error. And when you said like debugger, like it can work like binding pry, I'm like getting all giddy because like if I can figure out how to use debugger, I could solve this so much better.
I mean, I can tell you right now from the beginning, your code is doing a lot more than it should be. Like I'm trying to understand. Where's your event listener?
Trying to understand what's in my brain, where my logic is here.
And then it's called like, the heart function.
So I'm selecting the heart button, selecting the likes list. Likes list is this. Heart button is this. My event listener is on the click of the heart button. Right? Heartbeat, heart button. And then I'm setting likes, index of likes equal to 0. And then I'm running the heart function to set the element, the li element to the index. Well, I'm testing whether or not it's 0 or not. And
where is it that you're getting the number from?
Say that again?
Can you show me where you're getting the number from? Like the current counter?
I don't know. Oh, the counter. That is the I. So I. Oh yeah, you guys don't know that. I have to show you that right there. This is the counter.
Okay, so
I is equal to 0, and that's global.
So then you.
But how would I use debugger to kind of go through this?
Well, so like wherever you're. So like let's say you can put a debugger on, let's say like line 64. Just click line 64 to do it. Right? And now click like. So now you hit your debugger. So now you can look at what your elements are and literally just type into your console. So see if you can go all the way to the bottom and drag that up.
Console is, where was it before? It's in the coverage. No.
Coverage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time navigating this.
So
Bottom right.
before you just did this, your coverage was showing.
Right. It disappeared.
There you go.
No, that's not it. That's my. Yeah, I don't know how to do it.
You click on the word coverage.
Coverage. Where is coverage? I do not. Oh, right here. Nice. Oh, cool. Okay.
So now in your console, you can check what all your statements are right now, so you know what it's adding. So like type in what li is.
So just be like that. Nope. Give me that.
Well, you're doing a lowercase li, right? See, so you're getting, so like you can check what your variables are right there. So you checked what li is, you can check what I is. That's how you would use debugger and see. So now here's what I'm going to tell you also. I think the reason that you were getting those jumps might be because you're using the same variable likes for each one and not resetting it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm literally, I mean, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm adding to the last defined likes I, which is why it's doing that. It's like I even know exactly what I'm doing. I just, I can figure it out. I just have to play around a lot more. And I was hoping that like debugger, but this does help. I mean, now that I can like dive in here and
Yeah,
kind of
so
see what's going on a little more.
your breakpoints, and it'll help you dive in.
Like I could even do this.
More in depth, we could do that like in a different session. But like at least now you know how to like go in, check elements, see what they are, run debugger. You know, you can put your breakpoints wherever you want, and it'll hit by using those buttons at the top.
Yeah. So like here's a breakpoint, right? The red. And now, so I would have to click over here to
It'll have to hit that else statement though, so you'll have to do a number that you already has likes.
Yeah, you're not hitting it on new number.
Boom. Likes I. So equals 11. Yeah, right? That's why it's jumping from 11 to 12.
Exactly. So you know like that's where your issue is, so you can start like playing around with there.
Yeah. I was like moving, I think I need to move this outside of global into like the function scope to let it reset itself. But cool. I mean, this is cool. Now, and if I did like 2, do you know how to, I just hit like, how do I just refresh, Matt? Do I just click this pause up here?
You want to refresh or continue in debugger?
I want to kind of just start over. Yeah.
Refresh your browser like normally.
Just refresh my screen.
So that's another cool thing. Those breakpoints should stay. Go to challenge.js. See, those breakpoints do stay when you refresh your browser.
Cool. Next. Oh, nice. Did you see that? How like it didn't. Let me do that again.
Well, it didn't hit that breakpoint because you never ran that code. A breakpoint is only when that line of code is executed.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, this is cool because I hit this. Oh, no. Let me do that again. If I'm understanding correctly here, I hit this. It stopped it at this breakpoint, so it hasn't run the code, but it still knows, it still remembers when I hit like. And so then if I go to the next, it still hasn't run it. It hasn't appended the child, that is, right here on line 64. And then if I go next, it should do it right after here. Right? Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really,
so
really
now it added it.
I'm going to also post this resource that I found online where I got that example from that you guys can check more. I'm sure they probably talk more coherently than I do since I talk really fast. I'm from New York. We do everything fast.
Is it so? You said there's a resource online that walks you through debugger that you used?
Well, I just did AAQ, and they kind of taught me a lot of things, but I found a resource online that I'll post in Slack that everyone can use. That's
Nice.
where I got that example page from that I'll show you guys.
This is really cool, man. I was just perplexed when I was trying to, like, I actually did AAQ earlier or last week, and they were like, yeah, just use debugger. I was like, what the hell? I have no idea how to do any of this stuff. And I tried to research online how to do it. I couldn't figure it out.
I literally went into AAQ and said, can someone show me how to use debugger? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah. They told me no. The guy's like, that's out of scope. He's like, you got to work with your classmates. And then like the next day you're like, yo, I need to learn how to use debugger. I was like, yes.
Yeah, because I was thinking it was like Pry, and so I was like, where in my console is this working? How do I do this? I didn't realize that you had to open it up in the browser.
One thing, this is related, so hopefully this helps some people. I don't know if you guys know about Node, and Node, like you can actually run it here. You know, that's like console see. But even cooler than this is, there. Even cooler is you can actually run your file. Like if I did like that, I can run, oh, of course, demo fail. What's going on? Can I
I
find
think it's because
module
it's
node?
in that JS folder. So I think you have to put like JS slash.
Yes, you are right. JS. No, no. Like that.
This I'm not sure on because this is something I haven't done. But yeah.
Well, you get the point.
Yeah, I get the point. But yeah, so like the good thing about Debugger is that you don't have to start writing console.log everywhere in your code just to see what values are in your console.
Yeah, right. Well, I did it somewhere else, but the point is node with the file runs your actual file, and it kind of works like Debugger. It's just not nearly as cool. But that's what the ask a question told me to use, was like node, and so I was doing that, and I thought that was super helpful. But it's, as you can see, it's not nearly as robust as Debugger. What's that, Matt?
Well, I said, as you can see, that's clearly not the case since we can't get it to work.
Demo fail.
Does anyone
Yeah,
else
see, I tried to steal
before-
your thunder, Matt, and I failed.
No worries. Anyone else have any questions before we kind of sign off and end this? Everyone good?
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. I hope that helped.
Yeah, this was really helpful, man.
I'm going to post that resource that I found with that video and that link to that debugger resource. And yeah, if anyone else needs anything, just holler at me. Try to help them. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Thanks again, Matt.